we may go 6 months out of tanks. So I have a lot of tanks, and my neighbors have a lot of tanks. And it's pretty difficult to live that way. And if there's more people up there on that mountain using the water, then it's just going to make our long summers even longer. Another thing is that the water needs to be not polluted too much. We can handle a little bit, but septic tanks leaking, parcels that have a lot of mud coming off, roads that have a lot of mud coming off makes it more difficult to get that water out, clean water. And another thing is that we don't have a road agreement. And the more neighbors we have coming across my property, and using our common road makes life a lot more difficult. So we do need a road agreement on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Lee Boatwright, followed by Barbara Minsky, I believe. Close. Sorry about that.
Thank you for allowing me to have a couple of minutes here today. The Planning Commission, or actually the Planning Commission, we've seen a fantastic job done here. I'm concerned about the mill site. It's not up there right now, but the LP mill site, which we live close to, we're on Ridgeway Highway. We've been there 15 years. There's a lot of traffic density for that small road that this LP mill site is on right now, and it's going to be worse and worse. What I saw from the planning was something that didn't quite set with me. I put a letter to all the board regarding this, and that's the fact that they're talking about RR10, but at the same time they're talking about splitting a 30-acre parcel, or two parcels. They're splitting the 30 acres into 9 residential parcels with one that's less than an acre. Now, how does RR10 get to be down to 1 acre just all at once like this? And these are all, there's going to be a whole slew of future issues because this road is not well maintained. This road has been a problem. I think the rodeo grounds wanted to be there, but it wasn't there. There's pollution problems which have been addressed and have not been addressed, but that'll come up again. There are numerous issues over this parcel that I'm just at a loss to even talk about this parcel in a sense, but mainly I'm concerned about, number one, it's going to be changed in the plan to RR10, but the wording of what planning has done indicates it's not going to be RR10, it's going to be something that's going to allow for denser development. And I would hope that the board would take this denser development into consideration when they deal with this. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond?
Please.
The intent with this parcel is to look at it as a very sensitive parcel and as a whole unit. We're looking at all of the 97 acres, and we point out that approximately 55 of those acres are in a floodplain. And the intent for the portion of the property in the floodplain would be for non-residential use, basically for a tree farm. The second thing we would point out is that the RR10 is a density factor, not necessarily the size of each individual parcel. In order to protect the greater amount of this land, what we are recommending and what the applicant is agreeing to is the clustering of the units that could be developed here. With this particular size parcel with an RR10, only 9 units could be developed because there is not a greater multiple of the 10 acres than the 9, and 9.7 or 97 acres. So what we are trying to do here is to maintain most of the land, the greater part of the land, in an open classification. The clustering will achieve that, and that's why we mentioned to you, in full disclosure, if you will, that parcel sizes could go down to as little as the 40,000 square feet, or approximately 1 acre, because that's what you need for conventional septic system. But it does not confer any further rights on the remainder of the parcels, remainder of the property. In fact, one possible scenario that we discussed with the applicant was whether or not he would retain one of the parcels that would be created, and also retain the 55 acres that are in the flood zone, so that he could maintain that in perpetuity. And there are other ways that that could be handled too, so-called voluntary conservation easement. We put in the staff report that there could be appropriate language developed in the general plan update that would be specifically related to what we've been talking about, to the preservation of the floodplain area, to the clustering of the units, and the sensitive handling of this land. And that's what we would intend to do.
Thank you for that clarification. Barbara Mirsky, I believe it is. Take another attempt at it.
Yes, I'm talking about the same piece of property, and my primary concern, of course, is this is a prime watershed area. We're talking about the Eel River, the largest river in Northern California, and I know you know that. We're talking about the area presumably would be done best to be improved the most by having more trees. So we were all enthusiastic when we heard there was going to be a tree farm there. However, it's been several years, and we've just seen less trees. Some were cut down. And it's just a pretty bad place right now. So I'm not at all opposed to RR10. I think that would be the lowest density that I think would be justified there. My main concern is with the words voluntary conservation easement. If we approve this, and I don't know, and do you know what a voluntary conservation easement is? If he retains the 55 acres and we allow him to put 9 houses on the remaining 33 acres, does he have to keep that 55 acres as a conservation easement? He's going to grow trees on it now, great, hallelujah. What if he changes his mind or doesn't decide to? What if he sells that parcel to somebody else? What can be done on a voluntary conservation easement? I think that's critical to accepting this or not accepting it. Do you have or is there any way I can be clarified on what a voluntary conservation
Bill, could you
easement
respond to that
allows?
question?
Well, this is, first of all, the idea of the applicant to make this offer. The county would not be wise to impose an easement or an open space because you could end up buying it if you did. But we thought we would enthusiastically support the notion of this conservation easement, which would essentially mean that there would be no development in that area, mainly because it is floodplain. What we would do to ensure that, when our zoning would follow, and as you know, the zoning has to follow the general plan, there would be an FL combining district, I believe it's called, in our zoning ordinance, that would apply to this property. And so that would ensure that there wouldn't be development in that 55 acres. And you may want to hear from the applicant. There are other ways to achieve this, to do this. We take at face value what the applicants have indicated to us. It was their desire to enter into this voluntary conservation easement, to perhaps offer it to an entity that may want to maintain it, and or to do what had also been suggested, that the applicant retain it in his own ownership and be the steward of that land.
Well, again, I am just concerned, with all due respect